Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Maciag. I am a graduate student at the University of New England. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you this afternoon. Today I stand before you not just as a graduate student, but also as a case manager with firsthand knowledge of the difficulties my clients face in the world with their mental illness. I'm here as their advocate, and I would like to discuss the growing number of mentally ill individuals in the United States correctional system. I would like to begin with some statistics on the issue, which will lead into how this came to be. I will then explain what policies are in place which are addressing the issues and my recommendations to supplement these important policies. A video titled Fault Lines, produced by Matt Skeen, showed that 1.25 million mentally ill individuals are serving time in American prisons. These jails and prisons are not equipped to handle these individuals, as they were built to hold criminals and not as hospitals. These facilities are ill-equipped to handle the growing number of mentally ill inmates. Prisons began to see an increase in the number of mentally ill inmates after the 1950s, when there was a great push for the deinstitutionalization of mental institutions. States began releasing their patients into the community for treatment. However, there was a grave lapse in follow-through. By the early 1980s, a new social problem began to arise in the United States: homelessness. Thanks to studies done by the National Institute of Mental Health, a link was made between deinstitutionalization and homelessness. Deinstitutionalization was what got individuals with mental illness out of mental institutions. However, being on the streets made them more susceptible to incarceration, which we now know is why there is such a high rate of mental illness in prison. With so many mental institutions closed, there are no alternative options for these individuals. Lynette Daly stated in her article, From Asylums to Jails, the Prevailing Impact on Female Offenders, that deinstitutionalization was undoubtedly the most influential social policy that has affected mentally ill persons. The most effective response to this social problem has been jail diversion programs implemented by administrations such as the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. These programs are becoming increasingly popular across the country and aim to divert the individuals with a mental illness away from the correctional system. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services functions by way of 4 different intercepts, with policies at each intercept to address the overarching problem. The first intercept works with the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and it aims to divert individuals at the earliest opportunity. The second intercept is arrest and initial detention and court hearings. This is when the diversion of the individuals happens at the municipal court level. At the third intercept, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services efforts involve working with problem-solving courts such as mental health courts. The fourth intercept involves grants to help individuals transition back into the community after their incarceration. The United States currently spends roughly $49 billion a year on the correctional system. In order to reduce these costs, the country needs to invest in programs and policies which will help to keep the large majority of inmates suffering from mental illness out of prison. My recommendation includes investing more money in these jail diversion programs and implementing them all over the country. This would include training for police officers in how to properly handle situations when coming in contact with individuals with mental illness so that all parties feel safe. My recommendations also include working to gradually transition those currently incarcerated back out into the community. A system similar to probation should be set up to accommodate those with mental illness, to include access to mental health providers and probation officers. It would also be mandatory they be released to a family member or friend who be responsible for their care so that a situation similar to deinstitutionalization not happen again. As a case manager, I am my client's biggest advocate and feel I come to you with firsthand knowledge of their struggle, which I can share. I have a client who spent many years in prison on drug possession charges. He suffered from schizophrenia, and his symptoms were heightened tremendously in prison. When he was released, he was tormented by hallucinations of things and people he saw in jail, as well as voices of inmates. He could not even speak about his experiences. As his advocate, as well as the other individuals I represent, I do not believe prison is a place for people with mental illness. I encourage you to hear his story and listen to the information I presented. Thank you for your time and consideration.